Welcome back to Random Tasks and part 3 of my Vespa N1S build. In case you missed the first two videos, I bought a cheap 2011 Vespa LX 50 and have been converting it into an electric moped using the powertrain from a 2017 NIU or NIU N1S. In the first two videos, I stripped out the old motor and prepped the Vespa for all the new components. In this episode, I will be installing all of the new hardware, my custom coupling bracket, and eventually taking it out for a test ride. So let's get started. Okay, now it's the fun part, putting stuff together. So I've mounted the new brake handle on there. I had to rotate the brake line there. It was pointing this way for some reason, but didn't fit under the Vespa shroud, but it's all fine now. I've mounted the painted brake handle. I'm hoping that this silver bit will not be visible. Otherwise, I'll just have to respray it. Also started mounting the components. So the ECU is mounted down here. Here's the 60 volt to 12 volt and 5 volt transformer. And this bracket is for the throttle. I had to modify it slightly. I had to drill another hole here, and I had to basically cut this side bit and bend it down because I want it to mount into two existing holes. You can see right there, and it wasn't going to do that without the modifications because this is going to get, you know, as the throttle cable moves, it needs to be stable. So that bit's done, so I can mount that onto this bracket and then put it in the bike. And you can see I've run the brake cable as well down the middle here, and there's plenty of slack, plenty of room to mount the brake caliper, obviously down there. This is just temporary. The throttle is now mounted down there, and I've got the throttle cable installed in here. This is a little bit of a difficult thing to do, to be honest. I had to grind down here, not using this piece at all. This is probably going to hang down, which I'm not really like, but I might just have to get a new throttle cable. This is the new throttle cable, NIU throttle cable. Otherwise, this is all mounted, the main components. I need to just see if the trim panel with the glove box will go back in. If not, I've got a little bit of room for maneuvering and modification. Okay, the wiring is going in, the harness running down to the back, and it's a mess under here, and I'm hoping that it all fits behind the panel. Got everything tied up out of the way. It's for the display, it's the USB port, and otherwise everything is plugged in back here. So you need to start plugging everything up top. I also fixed the throttle cable basically by reversing it, so that metal bent bit that I wasn't able to cut is now down here. And I also need to just find a good place to mount the two relays I need for the speed control. Probably here. That's where I'm going to do it. So I received the bracket today from Fractory, and I'm very happy to say that it fits well. I don't have the stand attached to it yet, but I wanted to quickly test fit to make sure everything works here, and it does. Pardon the wiring in the way. You can see I actually have a bit of room to configure it, and I need to put a couple of spacers. I have a couple sleeves I can cut down to make that fit, but it works. So that is good. It's a big piece of the puzzle solved. It's nice 5mm thick steel. I must say Fractory's done a fantastic job getting this done, and again, reasonable price, and if I ever had to do something like this again, I would definitely go back to them. So that's great. So this will be bolted up tight on this side. This will also be somewhat tight, but it can still maneuver and rotate through the bumps. There's probably a millimeter or two worth of space there, so there's room for rotation. But I designed it so that basically this would be up hard against here, and effectively this would be an extension of this piece. So yes, making some progress. So here's the bracket unmounted. So this piece under here that's moving, this is going to bolt to here, and the front of the stand will go through there, and the back through that hole. I've already test fitted the center stand on it and it works. Now I just need to get this painted so that it doesn't rest on me. So while the paint is drying on my bracket that'll couple the motor to the Vespa, I've started buttoning up everything else. So I got the handlebar covers back on the front. I got a brand new Piaggio badge on there. You can see the seat is mounted and I'm very happy with the way that looks. I've got the tail lights and indicators back in, the glove box, and the floor. There's one modification I had to do, which was I basically had to cut a couple slots here to make this fit, because the back of the brake lever pushes against it. So I'm gonna probably grind it a little bit more, but otherwise I'm quite happy. Okay, so I've got the bracket mounted to the motor, and I'm going to mount this to the Vespa for the first time. See, the stand is also mounted on there. Okay. So. Come on. Stop. I should hold this up. Alright. Good. Put this washer on. And just tighten this nut by hand. Yep. Good. Just tighten it up. Okay, so it mounts in. And put the shock in. Good. Now I'm not going to put any spacers in yet, so I'll take some measurements and get some more permanent spacers made up. I'll probably use some washers at first. Try not to hurt yourself. Okay. Good. That's mounted in there with the center stand on, and I'm actually pretty happy with the way that looks and the way it's sitting. I really needed to just get this mounted temporarily just so I can move things around and get it in and out of the garage easier. But you can see I still need to put in some spacers on both sides here and here, and same with the shock mount. But otherwise things are looking good. So the plan is to mount the controller probably in this cavity here. Test fit it and there's enough room. And the nice thing is, where the battery used to be is a perfect size to fit the charger. And there it is on its own center stand now. Stand up pretty high, but that's absolutely fine. So now I have the motor, swing arm, everything mounted up. So put some spacers in there, a mix of some nylon M10 spacers and some stainless steel M10 washers. The shock is also mounted and also spaced out appropriately. I have the controller mounted down there. I have the battery cables. Everything is wired up here. I've retained the old gasoline and oil caps. They're just glued down. I do have this nice compartment back here, which will fit the charger nicely. I'll probably put a little false floor down on that with some ABS plastic, just because there's the shock bolt there and part of the battery cable, and I just rather have a smooth surface. So here it is with the battery in there. You see it just fits in nice and snugly into the underseat storage. I had to notch out a little bit for the power cable right there, and like I said, there's the charger sitting in there, so that's very nice. Okay, so I did take the front of the handlebar covers off again, mainly just do a bit of troubleshooting. When I first tested this, the instrument cluster did not light up. I was expecting the worst, but it turns out I just had forgotten to plug it in at the back. I also discovered that the left turn signal indicator light wasn't working. That was down to a blown bulb, so I actually swapped it with the low fuel light bulb because I don't need that anymore. So now when I start this up, as you can see, the display lights up down there. I obviously won't have this open when I'm driving. I don't need it really. It's just more of a battery meter. When I press the button here, the red parking light goes off, and then I can turn the throttle and starting up. It's in first speed, second to 37 kilometers an hour, and third 50. The tail light's on. The indicators work. That's the high beams coming on, indicators there, and the lights flashing there and there too. And when I hit the brake light comes on. So that all works. Just need to basically put the cover back on and then put the side skirts, or really the side trim and the rear trim with the number plate on there, and then I should be able to take it for a test drive. Okay, everything is back together and I'm ready for a test drive. See the side trims on, as well as the rear, headlight, everything back together. I will put the windshield back on at some point, but not a priority. And next thing will be is a riding video. So I had to revert to a voiceover for this because the wind noise was a little bit too much. I still don't have a proper action camera like a GoPro or Insta360. If anyone saw my riding video of my PX125 electric conversion, I'm using the same setup as I did for that one, which is basically a phone mounted to my helmet with a cheap strap. It works in terms of video, but yeah, wind noise is crazy. So compared to my PX125, it's definitely not as quick, but that's not surprising given that the 125 has a 3 kilowatt motor versus the 2.4 kilowatt motor in this thing, and the 60 volt battery in my NIU based conversion versus the 64 volt in my PX125. But this is something that I'm going to be changing, so while this is now complete and running for now, I do have a new controller that'll allow me to go faster and hopefully get it closer to the 125 in terms of its performance. And that'll be in the next video. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, and don't forget to like and subscribe.